In the last episode, we learned about the ServiceNow platform user interface and how to use some of the common tools provided by the UI. This episode picks up with Lesson 4 of the ServiceNow Fundamentals Learning Path, ServiceNow Branding Overview. In this brief lesson, we'll learn how to take the generic out-of-the-box user interface and customize it to portray your very own corporate brand. We'll start with a quick review of my notes, and then we'll jump into our personal developer instances for a hands-on demonstration of branding in ServiceNow. Hey, it's Jeff here from ServiceNowSimple.com, where we are working to help you understand the ins and outs of ServiceNow, keeping it simple all the way. In this series of videos, we're walking through the process of learning all we need to know to become certified as a system administrator in ServiceNow. Before we jump into the content of this next episode, we just want to let you know, as with every video, you can find links to any of the resources that we mention in the description box below. We'd also love for you to subscribe to the channel so you can get notified as we add new video content. To do that, just hit the subscribe button. Now let's jump into a working session on ServiceNow Branding Overview. Okay, Lesson 4 was all about branding in ServiceNow. This is going to be a brief lesson, and I'll tell you up front, I don't think there's a lot here that we need to be concerned about related to the certification exam. We'll go through it. There's some useful things here that we can demonstrate so that you can understand how to do these branding type things. But very little terminology. It was a brief lesson that consisted of an overview video of kind of what ServiceNow branding is, why you might want to do it, and then a very quick simulation at the end that walks you through an exercise, sort of getting your hands on the tool and being able to implement a quick change related to branding. But beyond that, there's not a whole lot here. We'll go through that simulation here and we'll jump into our personal developer instances, and we'll do it exactly as they had me do it so you can see it. But again, like I said, I think we can keep this video fairly short. Talked quickly about what branding is in ServiceNow. It then talked about the guided setup wizards that they have available, one of which helps us with branding. And then they mentioned quickly at the end a couple of other options, being the ServiceNow portal and the UI builder for how you can personalize or brand the instance to make it look familiar to your users. So with that, brief look at the notes. What is branding in ServiceNow? This is really all about making the user interface appear and feel comfortable to your users as though it is owned by your company, so that it takes on a little bit of flavor of your company's colors, for example, your company's fonts, your company's logo, that sort of thing. They talk briefly about why you might want to do that. Creating a shared identity that matches the identity of your company, making your users feel comfortable and confident in the tool, and then potentially speeding the adoption of use in the tool by displaying it in a way that people are used to within your company. So again, a lot about logos, colors, fonts, making people feel comfortable and at home so that it sort of resembles the other applications that exist within your company, rather than just strictly the out-of-the-box flavor of ServiceNow. So that's quickly what they covered on sort of the introduction. They then talked about guided setup. Guided setup in ServiceNow are these wizard-like functional areas that they provide that help us set up applications and modules within ServiceNow. So they've taken some of the common activities that companies normally need to do, and they've wrapped them into these nice wizards that they call guided setup that walk you through the process of setting things up. And one of those helps us with sort of the overall branding and look and feel of the application. There are two guided setup modules. So there's the guided setup application, and we'll go look through this in the application navigator. And then there are two primary modules or types of guided setup that they provide. One is ITSM Guided Setup, and the other is ITOM. So IT Service Management Guided Setup is the first one. That's the one we're going to look into. And it includes wizards that help you set up things like the company overall look and feel. That's what we're going to go into. Connectivity, foundational data. The CMDB has its own guided setup wizard to help get that set up. Incident management, major incident management, problem management, change management. You can read these. I'm not going to read all of them. I don't think we need to remember that list or memorize that list. Just know what the guided setup wizards are and what they're there to do, and then we're going to talk specifically about the company guided setup wizard related to branding. The other section of guided setup is IT operations management. So those are a group of wizards that are set up to help configure things like the mid servers, your discovery, event management, operational intelligence, cloud provisioning, and governance. So guided setup, wizards to help you set things up, provided within ServiceNow, and the company guided setup application is the one we'll look at for branding. We'll be there in just a minute. And then that's really it. At the end of the lesson, they talked about two other options that you have for personalizing the user interface so that your users feel confident and comfortable. And those are the Service Portal and the UI Builder. They did not go into detail into either of those. Maybe in one of our future videos, we might take a look into the UI Builder. But we've talked briefly about the Service Portal when we talked about the different user interface options that ServiceNow provides. They provided the platform interface, the mobile interfaces, and then the Service Portal, which is sort of a widget-based tool that allows you to build a user interface by pulling in and placing widgets on the screen. So they mentioned that that's another opportunity where you can brand the user interface to sort of customize it to look like your company would wish. And then UI Builder. They didn't go into any detail with UI Builder. I've done a little research. So this is like a widget, almost like a WYSIWYG editor that you can use to build functional screens. So you can add buttons and headings and report sections and things like that to build out the page or the screen so that it looks the way that you'd want it to. And that really is it for what was covered in this lesson. So with that, I think we should jump over to our personal developer instances, and let's walk through what they had me walk through in the simulation, and we'll talk through it as we go. So I've got my personal developer instance already open. If you haven't, go ahead and you can pause the video, log into the developer portal. You may have to wake your instance. I had to wake mine this morning, and then resume when you get here. So as you can see, we're back to our normal home. Actually, we're at our welcome page here. I'm going to go to the home page, our home page within ServiceNow. This is ServiceNow out of the box. The colors, green, some light blue, white. This is very much resembling the color scheme that represents ServiceNow. Now, what if we want to change this so that it represents our company better? So for example, in the banner frame we learned in the last video, we've got our logo here. We've got our logo message here. We've got all these colors and things that we have the ability to tweak to make it look more like and feel more like our company. So those are the things we're talking about making changes to. The changes that we're making here are different from the system settings that we talked about in the last video. If you remember the gear where you can go in and set up the user interface sort of personally for yourself, those are stored with your individual login, so you're not impacting anyone else. What we're talking about now is a larger scope. So going in the guided setup and setting up the corporate look and feel of the instance is across the board change that you're making. So these would be done by a system administrator that would then be reflected the next time anyone logged in to the application. So that's a difference you'll want to probably keep in mind. Okay, so they talk about the guided setup applications to help us make these changes. So what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and locate the guided setup application, and we learned in the last video, we can come here to the filter navigator for the application navigator, and we can just begin to type. I'm just going to type guided, and you're going to be able to see that we've got guided setup applications in various places throughout ServiceNow. So multiple applications have their own guided setup wizard that you can go into if you want to go into it directly from there. There is also, as mentioned in the slides, the guided setup application itself, which is right here. And it has the two modules within it, ITSM Guided Setup and ITOM Guided Setup, as mentioned on the slide. So I'm going to go ahead and go in here to ITSM Guided Setup. It's going to open up that Guided Setup module. Gives us a nice little welcome screen here. You'll notice on the left there is like a series of breadcrumbs that it shows, kind of lets you see where you're at in the process. If you wanted to start this from the top and then just work your way right down through the guided setup, you can do that a step at a time. But some helpful information here letting you know kind of what this is about, pre-setup checklist, so things that you're going to need in order to successfully complete this guided setup activity. But we're going to go ahead and click on Get Started to start up the guided setup. I'm going to go ahead and close that sidebar. Okay, now we can see, very much like a wizard, the sections that it's offering that we can walk through to set up our instance. Company is the first one, and this is the one we're going to go into that's really related to branding. But I'll just show you some of the others. There's the connectivity, the foundational data, and we talked about these, setting up the CMDB, incident management, major incident management, problem management, change management, service catalog, knowledge management, and on until we get to the end and we are at the go live. So if you wanted to, you could walk through each of these steps one at a time. We're just going to go into the company guided setup application. You can see the number of tasks that are involved with each of the steps. So with the company guided setup, we're going to be looking at system configuration and then configuring the welcome page so that it appears and behaves the way that we want it to for all of our users. So we can get started by clicking on one of these, or we can just go to the individual category that we want and click Get Started. I'm going to do that for company. Get started. Okay, 2 tasks here. So the 2 things that we have to consider here are our system configuration and our welcome page. Let's go into the system configuration step first. So you can kind of read the description here, configure the default settings for the time zones, the date and time formats, upload your logo, customize the banner frame, customize the browser tab text. You can change backgrounds, text, separator colors, things like that. So let's just jump into that real quickly and we'll take a quick look. And I'm going to show you exactly what the simulator had me do in the lesson. I will note the Mark as Complete button. So what that button will do is it'll essentially tell the ServiceNow instance that you've been here and you did that as the system administrator. So we aren't all going to do this. This is just the sort of an administrator type activity. But an administrator could come in, and when he's done setting up the company section, he can click Mark as Complete, which is going to then take this circle and give it a check mark so that next time you come and you know you've done that, you can continue on with step 2 or step 3 or wherever you want to go. So system configuration, let's go on here into configure, and I'm going to tell you what they had us do. So what they wanted us to do was change the page header caption. That is this right here. So you can see the logo is right here, and the page header caption is right here, service management. So they had us change that to something personal. So I'm just going to change that to, what did I do? My personal developer instance. The browser tab title, that's going to be the title that shows up in your browser tab. We could change that too, I guess. Why not? Pop that in there as well. And just some of the other things here, you can see you can choose the time zone. Do that if you wish. Here's where you can do your banner image. So you need to have an image ready. I don't have an image ready. I'm not going to change the image, but all you would do is click the plus button to add, upload your image, and then change the image to your corporate logo. Date format, the way you want dates displayed, the way you want times displayed. Again, this is across the entirety of the instance for all users. Banner text colors. So yeah, you can just scroll through and you can see there are a lot of things that you can, there are also some themes down here that we could choose to change the look. But yeah, so coming in and making any modifications like that you'd like to make it represent the look and feel of your company. And when you have finished doing that, which at this point we have, you can see now my personal developer instance is up here in the page header caption. So the changes take effect. We're going to go ahead and click save, and it's going to take us, it tells us that the properties are updated. And then to get back to the guided setup, next step, you got to come here and just say mark as complete right here, this button. Or you could, if you weren't complete, you could just go back to guided setup. But I'm going to say we've gone through and we've set this up, so I'm going to mark that as complete. Takes us back to the wizard, and you can see now we are 50% done with this step because there were only 2 steps. We marked this one as complete. You could then come back in if you wanted and mark it as incomplete. But then let's go to the welcome page and let's set the welcome page up. Welcome page is interesting. What the welcome page is it's the screen that you see when your login credentials are requested. So you type in your username and password. It's a very simple screen with a lot of white space, username and password field, and a login button. You can add messages there. So if you wanted to alert your users of some activity that was happening, or maybe some scheduled activity that was coming, or any type of message, maybe you just want to add a welcome message, you can do that. The way you do it is simply by adding an item to this list view. So you can see we've got 3 things here currently set up, and the most visible one is the about message that's there currently. We're going to go ahead and add something to our welcome page. So you can just click new here to create a new record. It's really just adding a new section to the welcome page. Give it a description. This is just for you so that you know what it is. Let's say my new welcome message. The order, if you had multiple messages, you could specify what order you wanted it in, 100, 200, 300. Just give it a number, and the lower the number, the higher on the page it's going to show up. So you can look through these various options here, but essentially at the bottom you can just type in what you want your message to be that's going to be displayed. Welcome to my personal developer instance, exclamation point, because we're excited you're here. And with that, we will hit submit. Did I spell everything correctly? Yes. And we now have our new welcome message here. So you can see the about message is set as a display order of 10. We left ours set as 100, so it's going to be beneath that. And that's it for adding a message to the welcome page. So I'm going to mark this step as complete in my guided setup wizard. And we can now see that we've got the company step taken care of, and that's the one that was discussed in this lesson. It might be an interesting activity for you if you want to log into your PDI and just look through the rest of these and kind of see what's available for setup. But and we may revisit some of these in one of our future lessons. But for now, I've covered everything that this lesson discussed. So let's think through it. Branding is personalizing the overall instance of ServiceNow so that it sort of reflects the image and the look and feel of your company. Why would you want to do that? They may ask you that. Hopefully it would speed adoption. It instills confidence, and it makes your users feel comfortable as though they were in an application that belongs to your company. Guided Setup, those are wizards that ServiceNow provides to help set up the instance. There are many of them. Many applications have them. We went into the company Guided Setup wizard and we set up our system configuration and our welcome page. So that's it for this lesson, ServiceNow branding overview. That's branding in ServiceNow, lesson 4 complete. Hope you found that useful. I hope you're finding all of these videos useful. The next episode, we'll take a look at lesson 5, lists and filters overview. There will be more there that we'll need to learn than there was in this one. But like I said, I hope you're finding these videos useful. We'd love it if you would subscribe to the channel. You get notified that way when we add content. Give us a like if you like any of these videos. That helps us continue to move things forward here. That is it. We will see you in the next video.